each other, and the knight introduces herself as Alice, the 233rd hero of the kingdom. Lilith realizes her magic didn't work on her because she's a girl, and she starts teasing her, telling her she's cute. Alice pushes her back and rushes to attack her, but Lilith kicks her away. She struggles to land a hit, and Lilith mocks her for being weak, so Alice decides to show her true powers. Lilith attacks her, but she's shocked as her whip made from dragon tendons breaks upon touching Alice's sword. She notes that the Holy Sword Light Anthem can't be touched by dark creatures like her, and she attacks Lilith with her magic. She manages to block it, but Alice suddenly rushes in and captures her. The soldiers start cheering for Alice, but Merlin hears the noise and wonders what's happening outside. Alice asks her master Sage to order her to attack the Demon King's palace, but he turns down her request and summons a giant monster whale. He calls it the ultimate weapon of humanity, since it can destroy everything with a single blow. Alice thinks they should only eliminate the Demon King, but he believes all demons deserve to die, so he wants to wipe them out. He knows how evil the Demon King is, because he's the only person who ever survived after facing him. He launches his ultimate attack to obliterate the demons, but Merlin suddenly arrives to protect them and accidentally lands on Alice. Lilith hugs him, telling him they bullied her, while Alice tells him to watch his step while he's landing. He wonders who she is, so Lilith tells him she's a useless hero, but he knows that Lilith lost to her, so she explains that she just got careless. Alice wishes to fight him, but he sends her flying with just a flick of his finger. Sage calls him his nemesis, but Merlin doesn't even remember him, so he mentions that he was the only person to ever survive after fighting against him. Merlin finally remembers him begging for his life, and notes that he let Sage escape because he promised to sacrifice his men to him. Everyone's shocked hearing this, but Sage explains that it isn't true, saying he's there for humanity's glory and justice. He draws out the magical energy from all his soldiers, and fires a powerful energy beam, but Merlin uses his sword to deliver a devastating attack, which kills the monster in an instant. Sage begs for forgiveness and blames Alice for the attack, but they suddenly hear a bell, which freaks Merlin out as he realizes that the weekly meeting has started. He runs toward his palace, but Alice stops him, so he mentions that even though she's too weak for him, he'll use his Dark Blade Vortex because she came all the way to fight him. He unleashes a destructive sword attack, and Alice tries to block it with her barrier, but she gets overwhelmed, and it cuts through the ground. At the meeting, they're all disappointed at Merlin because he has the worst performance out of all the Demon Kings. He mentions that he defeated the most crusades and destroyed millions of humans, but they tell him he isn't making money for the palace. They explain that every time he goes fighting, he causes serious damage to the Land of Darkness, so his total debt has reached 66 trillion yen, and they ask him to pay it immediately. Merlin tries to sneak out of the palace, but Lilith thinks he's playing hide and seek. He tells her the demon realm is too small for him, so it's time for him to explore the outside world, thinking his absence will make everyone realize how important he is. She wonders if he was fired, but he tells her it was totally his own decision, and the elders tried to stop him. He mentions that he's leaving because of his curse, which shrinks his heart if he doesn't fight strong opponents, so he must find them in the Kingdom of Light. But she thinks he has no skill other than being a demon king, so he won't survive in the outside world. She wishes to accompany him, but he notes that he must pay 66 trillion for all the damages he caused if he stays there. So she quickly jumps back and wishes him luck in earning enough to pay back his debt. As he leaves, she thinks that even though he's the strongest demon king, he's still an idiot who will return after he fails in the outside world. So she thinks he'll come back crying, but hopes the experience will help him grow as a person. Meanwhile, Alice notes that if it weren't for her mithril armor and light anthem, she wouldn't have survived. But she realizes that Lilith is approaching, so she plays dead, and Lilith thinks it's a miracle that her body is still intact. But she doesn't want to let her beautiful face turn to dust, so she decides to take her to the palace and keep her as a collectible. She tries to pick her up, but she's too heavy, so she decides to just take her head, but Alice moves to dodge the attack. Lilith wants to have a rematch, but Alice knows she's in no condition to fight, so she tries to escape, and Lilith orders her wolves to chase her. Meanwhile, Merlin reaches the sea, which the humans cross to reach the demon realm, and he realizes he used too much force with the blade strike earlier because it damaged all the ships. He knows that demons can't swim, so he thinks he has no choice but to return, but a small boat suddenly floats towards him, and he decides to row himself across the sea. Meanwhile, Alice continues to run from the wolves, and she remembers how her master told her she isn't ready to face the demons. But she didn't want to become like her master, who did nothing but stay on the snowy mountain, so she insisted on going on an adventure. She starts crying as she realizes that the outside world is scary, and she thinks she needs to work on her skills when she gets back. She takes out one of the wolves and feels relieved because only one elite tier beast is left, but it suddenly transforms into its final form, which freaks her out. She struggles to defend herself and thinks she won't survive, but Merlin suddenly stops the wolf. He thinks she would make the perfect slave, so he tells the wolf named Fatty to tell Lilith that Alice belongs to him, which freaks her out. He tells her he saved her life, so she must serve as his slave to return the favor. He carries her to the boat, and she tries to resist, but she's no match for him, and he tells her to start rowing. Alice dreams about defeating Merlin, and she's about to marry a prince, but Merlin wakes her up, telling her to get to work. She thinks about getting her revenge one day, and as she gets lost in her thoughts, she starts rowing aggressively. She notices him standing firm despite the strong currents, but she soon realizes he's taking support from a wooden board. After some time, she smells the delicious food he's cooking, so she gets distracted. But he mentions that she's a useless hero, which upsets her, so she stops rowing, telling him they'll simply drift to death. He tells her she'll be rewarded if she works well, and even though she's against having that food, she isn't able to resist it. She apologizes to her master, saying a demon king shouldn't be able to cook such delicious food, so it's against the laws of nature. The sharks are attracted to the smell of food, and she tells him to stop roasting, but he ignores them, so she tells him the sea is home to more dangerous creatures. He points towards her back, and she's scared seeing a shark up close, but he sends it back with his conqueror's haki. He thinks he's the most dangerous creature in the sea, but she notes that she was talking about the sea monster, which is the most terrifying predator in the sea. She reveals that even their army had to smear the holy dragon's poop on their ships, just to avoid its attack, and he realizes that it's the reason why the army smells so weird. But she notes that the holy dragon's poop is a precious treasure, because the holy dragon disappeared, so its poop is more precious than gold. She thinks he must have never heard about the holy dragon, but he takes out a contract crystal used for binding demonic beasts. He opens a portal, through which he contacts Bucky, thinking he no longer needs to leave, because he can earn the extra money by selling its poop. Alice can't believe the holy dragon turned into a pet, so he explains that he defeated it and made it his pet. But she's still in shock, because the holy dragon is supposed to be the strongest being in the world. He thinks Bucky will find him through the crystal and take him back to the palace, but it suddenly slips out of his hand and falls into the sea. Merlin tells Alice to continue working, but he notices that all the fish around them have suddenly disappeared, so he thinks a dangerous predator must be nearby. The sea monster appears before them, and Alice asks him to chase it away, but he mentions that he can't swim. She wonders why he's acting so strong when he can't even swim, so she realizes that she must deal with it herself. She jumps to attack it, but her sword can't pierce through its skin, and she loses all hope. Merlin tells the monster to become his new slave and carry him across the sea, but it rejects his offer and shoots water at him. So he uses his sword to attack it, killing it in an instant, and Alice can't believe how powerful he is. They finally reach the shore, and Merlin notes that they only made it because he's such a good leader. He thinks Alice is a useless slave because she lacks strength and brains, so he decides to part ways with her. But before he leaves, he tells her to take off her armor because he wants to earn money by selling it. Alice appears in the court, where she's held responsible for the death of her fellow soldiers because she wasn't strong enough to defeat Merlin. She's stripped of her status as a hero and ordered to pay 50 million gold since she lost the precious mithril armor. After a year, we see Alice fighting against pirates, but they think she's too weak to defeat them. She frees the girl they kidnapped and tells her to stop worrying because she'll engage them until backup arrives. She shoots ice to freeze the captain's feet, but as she tries to finish him off, she's blocked by another pirate who pushes her back. She tells them they won't be able to lay a hand on the girl as long as she's alive, but they just laugh at her. They explain that she's just an elite tier hero while they're at the holy tier, so she can't do anything to them. They prepare to attack her, but Merlin suddenly lands on top of them. He mentions that he couldn't wait for them to complete their show since his curse would have activated. They think he's weak because they can't sense his magic, so they decide to fight him. He uses his sword to defeat them, but his attack creates a massive explosion, which destroys their ship, as well as the reinforcement ships sent to rescue the mayor's daughter. Alice can't see his face, so she considers him her hero and starts praising him, but he leaves before she can learn about his identity. After that, a reporter named Bella mentions that the Queen considers Merlin a wanted criminal. She reveals that no one knows his real name and they've given him the title of Nightblade, but Alice refuses to accept it since she considers him as the real hero. She's irritated that the TV is still showing the interview, and she's happy that she was able to collect 10,000 gold, but she realizes that she still has a long way to go before she can clear her debt. She recalls how Merlin ruined her life and hits the table out of frustration, but she accidentally spills water on her next mission contract. She notices that the wanted criminal looks like Merlin, but she thinks that a demon king couldn't be a freeloader. She realizes she's late for her carriage, but she starts hugging her poster of Nightblade, asking him to bless her and curse the demon king. Meanwhile, Merlin sees his wanted poster, but he isn't happy that he only has a bounty of 5,000 gold. He realizes he was careless because he wasted all the money he got from selling the armor, but he thinks everyone should be honored if he dines at their place instead of calling him a freeloader. He finally sees a village, but two bandits try to rob him, telling him they'll be punished if they don't take something to their master. They ask him to hand over his sword, but he warns them that they'll die the moment he takes it out. The bandits laugh at him, and one of them uses his knife to instantly peel off an apple, asking Merlin if he's afraid. But Merlin uses his sword to cut him into pieces, and he takes the apple, while the second bandit runs away. He turns into a goblin, so Merlin realizes that they use transformation magic to look like bandits. The goblin tells the king that a human killed his companion, but it makes him happy. We learn that they disguised themselves as bandits so that they could provoke the humans to break the peace treaty, and the king orders his subjects to attack a human village. Merlin sends a letter to Lilith, telling her he's living a luxurious life and that everyone loves him. So he won't return to the Demon King's palace unless the old men apologize to him, but she knows he's just bluffing. He tries to leave a hotel without paying, and the owner recognizes him as the infamous freeloader who has been causing trouble in the south. He asks everyone to help him catch Merlin, but he manages to escape. He notes that he didn't want to cause trouble, but a boy named Henry suddenly appears before him. He instinctively holds his sword, so Henry wonders if he's performing, telling Merlin he'll reward him if he puts on a good show. But Merlin can't take out his sword, because it would kill Henry and destroy the village. So he just tries to trick him, but Henry gets angry and calls him a useless bum. So Merlin becomes angry and throws away Henry's ice cream, making him cry. Alice also arrives in the village, and the adventurers tell her it's an honor to travel with a hero, but she mentions that she no longer has that title, so they wonder what happened. As she's about to explain, a man starts shouting about a new book, which is about the secret romance between the Demon King and the female hero. She becomes embarrassed because she thinks it's about her adventure with Merlin, and the man notes that millions of copies have been sold, so she falls into despair. The adventurers discuss how they will deal with the goblins, but seeing them talk about their marriage scares her, because she thinks they'll die during the mission. The girl named Priest wishes her luck on her mission, and she notes that they don't mind the cross-species romance of Alice and the Demon King. She looks at the wanted poster and wonders why a freeloader has a huge bounty on his head, but she thinks it will be an easy job. Merlin goes to a nearby inn and enjoys delicious food, but the owner catches him when he tries to sneak out. She notes that the restroom is in the opposite direction, so he mentions that he's looking for a job, but she asks him if he has any skills relevant to the inn. He shows his dancing and singing skills, which impresses everyone, and she decides to hire him, telling him his base pay is 1 gold, and he also gets a 15% commission on drink sales. He wonders how she can afford such good pay, so she tells him they run 2 shifts. Everything's normal during the day shift, but at night, they serve plenty of female customers,